My friends, we're going to start with philosophy today. Let's get philosophical, all right, shall we? Here we go. If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, here's the corollary. If there's a horrific scandal in the Democratic Party involving a president and a secretary of state, and the media doesn't report it, if the media doesn't make a sound about it, did it ever happen? Well, here's the answer. You bet your ass it happened. And I'm going to make some noise about it. Item from the New York Post. Turns out the Obama administration knew the Russians were engaged in bribery, kickbacks, and extortion in order to gain control of U.S. atomic resources, yet still okayed that 2010 deal to give Moscow control of 1/5 of America's uranium. This reeks. Peter Schweitzer got onto part of the scandal in his 2015 book, Clinton Cash. The gifts of $145 million to the Clinton Foundation and the $500,000 fee to bill for a single speech by individuals involved in a deal that required Hillary Clinton's approval. Obama administration knew about Russian bribery plot before uranium deal. FBI uncovered Russian bribery plot before the controversial nuclear deal. The New York Times confirmed followed up on Schweitzer's reporting. All of it denounced Hillary as a partisan hit job. Denounced by Hillary. So we've got them dead to rights. We've got their fingerprints all over the corpse, so to speak. They're obviously guilty. You won't hear about it in the major media. You'll hear about it in places like Fox and Breitbart and Daily Caller and, yes, Riell Truth. Where else have you heard about it? Who else is going to spend any time with this? New York Times? Washington Post? CNN? So the first thing you need to do is promise yourself you will never go for news to any of those news outlets. Number two, call your U.S. Senator, call your congressman and say, hey, I want these bastards investigated starting yesterday. And listeners, if you don't do that, if you're not willing to make a simple phone call or send an email to your senator or congressman, then I don't know what you're doing on this planet. Don't know what you're doing listening to my show. If you're not angry, you better check for a pulse, because I'm angry enough for both of us. Hillary Clinton's fingerprints, Barack Obama's are all over this mess, and I'm not going to let go of it. It's Wednesday. Riell Truth. We'll be back.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution. American Window Tinting Incorporated in Franktown reminds parents, keep an eye on your child while shopping. Children tend to stray or become lost. This poses an opportunity for a would-be abductor. Please make every effort to keep track of your little one at all times. If you have information regarding a lost child, call local authorities at once. This message is from American Window Tinting Incorporated in Franktown. For residential or commercial window tinting, call 303-263-4228. Piccolo's Restaurant in Denver reminds us that over 750,000 children were reported missing last year. Over 58,000 of these were abducted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for youngsters at play, and if you see anything suspicious, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Piccolo's Restaurant in Denver. Not only the best Italian American, but it's the people who care. Give them a call at 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166.
Yeah, I'm back. Did you think I wouldn't be? Too ticked off not to be. Howard Riell Truth. Okay, that's all you get in the way of introduction. Let's get down to business. Sean Hannity, last night, talking about the woman who wanted to be president, but instead is probably a weasel. Go.
That literally they used bribery to gain control over America's uranium industry, all while the Obama administration did nothing. And the Clintons benefited to the tune of nearly $145 million. You want a real Russia collusion story? We've got it. Also, is Congress now going to do its job? Will they investigate these explosive reports immediately? Will the special counsel, Robert Mueller, start looking into this Russian plot to control American uranium? And is the left-wing mainstream media, are they going to stop pushing their lies and conspiracy theories to you, the American people? Will they ever tell us the truth? And that's not all we have tonight. The FBI has confirmed that, in fact, the disgraced former director, James Comey, drafted a letter exonerating Hillary Clinton months before interviewing any key witnesses in the email server scandal. We're going to cover all of this in tonight's breaking news opening monologue. All right, so the Hill's John Solomon, his colleague over there, Allison Spann, are once again out with an explosive new report. Take a look at this headline from today. FBI uncovered Russian bribery plot before Obama administration approved controversial nuclear deal with Moscow. Now here's the headline from Sarah Carter. Russia, nuclear firm under FBI investigation, was allowed to purchase U.S. uranium supply. According to these breaking news reports, back in 2009, the FBI, they started gathering evidence, including recordings and emails and witnesses that they talked to, showing that the Russian nuclear industry officials used bribes, kickbacks, money laundering, and other illegal tactics to expand Russia's influence over America's uranium market. Now, in the Hill report, they explain that despite all of the evidence that they had of wrongdoing against Russia, the Obama Justice Department, for some unknown reason, chose not to act and pursue charges. What did they do instead? The Obama administration then went on to approve business deals that benefited Russia, Putin, Moscow greatly, while these threats to our national security were actually going on. These include the 2010, we've talked about it a lot, now we have more details, that Uranium One deal. Hillary Clinton, she signed off on it, she helped approve it. That gave Vladimir Putin control over 20% of America's uranium. Uranium is the foundational material so you can build nuclear weapons. We'll have a lot more on that in just a second. And the 2011 deal, that made it easier for the Russian nuclear subsidiary to sell uranium to U.S. nuclear power plants. Now, the FBI officials told Sarah Carter at Circa News that the Bureau's bribery investigation could have actually been stopped. However, this part is inexcusable. Both reports highlight how the Obama administration kept all of this evidence that they had of Russian bribery secret from Congress and the American people until 5 years after the approval of that Uranium One deal. And when the DOJ finally did go public, this was 2015, it was only to announce a single charge against the Russian at the center of the bribery scheme, and they played it on the down low. Now keep in mind, after President Trump won in November, President Obama and his administration, they were telling anyone who would listen, Russia interfered with our election. Russia was creating a direct threat to American democracy. Well, if that's the case, why, when they had mountains of evidence that we will reveal tonight of Russian bribery going back to 2009, Why then did the Obama administration and Hillary in particular sign off on the sale of 20% of America's uranium to Vladimir Putin and the Russians? And speaking of Uranium One, according to the new report from the Hill, the FBI has evidence, including eyewitness accounts, that, quote, Russian nuclear officials routed, pay attention, routed millions of dollars to the U.S. designed to benefit former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's charitable foundation during the exact time Secretary of State Hillary Clinton served on a government body that provided a favorable decision to Moscow. Uranium One, sound familiar? And by the way, we can't forget Peter Schweitzer. He originally exposed this Uranium One deal in his best-selling book, Clinton Cash. Now, all of that is why for months on this program, I have been telling you, Uranium One will be one of the biggest scandals this country has ever seen. Just in case you forgot, let's remind you. Then there's the real Russia collusion story, the Uranium One deal, which I predict will be the biggest news to come out in the next year or two, where the Secretary of State, remember, she approved handing over up to 20% of America's uranium, the foundational material of nuclear weapons, to Vladimir Putin and the Russians, all while people involved in the deal in Canada, they kicked back over $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. Bill Clinton doubled his speaking fees in Moscow. Tonight, with this new evidence, what we have discovered is the evidence against the Clintons is overwhelming. It is incontrovertible. Hillary Clinton and her husband sold out America to the Russians while millions of dollars flowed to their family foundation.
And so, my friends, let me speak to the Hillary voters across Colorado and across America. If you're feeling pretty stupid now, if you're feeling like you had an active hand in what might have been the sellout of all time of the United States, if you're embarrassed that you voted for Hillary Clinton in retrospect, and if you hide that fact because you don't want to be humiliated in front of people, well, at least you've gotten this right. You were shockingly stupid to have voted for the woman anyway. So take a pledge right now. You will never repeat your mistake. You will not vote for Democrats anymore as long as you live, so help you God. All right, now that you've taken that vow, I will allow you to continue to listen to the rest of today's show. We'll take a break. Real Truth continues, my friends. Stick around.
Riell Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom-tailored capabilities is modest and emergency lighting all the way to commercial scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom-designed system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963 at 303-239-9963 or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com.
The Lord leads the counsel of the nations to nothing. He makes the plans of the people of no effect. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation, whose God is the Lord. The people he has chosen as his own inheritance. Psalm 33, verses 10 through 12.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. This is the America's News Network.
All right, my friends, here's a bonus for you because I love you guys. By all of the people who voted for Hillary, but this is a bonus for them. This is for the Democrat voters in my audience. First of all, you must have gotten lost on the way to somewhere, or you wouldn't be in my audience. But that's beside the point. If that clip of the Sean Hannity show from last night that I played made you feel bad about voting for Hillary, well, that shows progress. It shows you're thinking, I congratulate you, I salute you. But you don't feel bad enough yet. So I'm going to use my authority as the host of this show to decide to go right back to Sean Hannity from last night, talking more about Russian collusion between Vladimir Putin, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. Listen.
And in the process, massive national security.
My friends, as you're listening to all these liberal nitwits yammer on and on about Trump and the Russians when there hasn't been one single piece of evidence to substantiate it after more than a year, think to yourself, how did these horses' rectums ever get on a TV show for a big salary? Because make no mistake about it, horses' rectums they are. Let's continue.
Russia with Russia will hang over him no matter where he stands.
It certainly feels like we're in the opening stages of a devastating political chapter in American history.
Now keep in mind, these people are completely and totally wrong. And the only real Russian collusion is from the woman whose shoes they kiss. And the president, the former president, whose backsides they've been kissing for 8 years. That's the scale of the nitwitism that these people practice. I just coined a new phrase. Yeah, I'm glad she mentioned Tom Friedman, because he has been a horse's ass for decades, and he's hailed as a genius. Well, my friends, I've said this on the show before, and I'll say it again. What the hell, it's my show. Thomas Friedman has been wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong from his perch atop the heavens writing for the New York Times, while your humble servant, Howard Riell, has been right and right and right and right and right. So where's my fat contract? When am I going to be called to be a guest on Fox News? Yeah, you know the answer as well as I do.
Do you agree with that? I completely agree.
My friends, all these people are idiots. They're high-priced idiots, mouthing things that mean nothing. It's amazing, and they find their way onto MSNBC and CNN.
To Putin more than he is American intelligence, and frankly, I've never seen that before.
Frankly, you're an idiot.
The media has been breathless.
My friends, do you get that? Months before Comey interviewed a whole bunch of witnesses or Hillary, he was already drafting the letter that said she's not guilty. So how is this bastard not in a cell? How the hell do you get to be the head of the FBI being a scum like that? He should be in jail. And there should be a trial. You hear any of the politicians calling for that? I don't either. It's back to Hannity.
Does this not prove what I've been saying? We don't have equal justice under the law. We have a two-tier justice system in this country. One for the Clintons and one for the rest of us. And it also proves James Comey acted inappropriately. He deserved to be fired. Now, Comey played politics He let Clinton off the hook, even though she had secret, top secret, special access program, classified information stored, let's see, in a mom and pop shop bathroom closet. Which, by the way, mishandling of classified information, that's a crime.
By the way, my friends, a lot of that classified information found its way to Huma Abedin and then to her husband, now ex-husband, Anthony Weiner, the wackadoodle who's exposing himself to underage girls on the internet. So that's what you have gotten, only worse, from President Hillary Clinton. Now I got to go wash my mouth out.
Destroying classified information.
My friends, the thing that makes this especially chutzpahdik, especially piquant, especially hot, is the fact that all these things that Obama and Clinton did, colluding with the Russians, all the scummy lies and all the other crimes and the mishandling classified information, the deleting emails, the bleach bit, the banging on phones with hammers, the taking the money from the Russians, each and every one of these things they accused Donald Trump of. They're guilty of it, and they accused Donald Trump of it. That's the Democrats. That's liberals. They will do whatever they want, and you can't question them because you're not as righteous as they are. By the way, you're a racist. That's the liberal platform. It's because the Democrats are liberals and Marxists and socialists and communists, and so they have a relationship with Russia. What's hard to understand? They're dishonest, sleazy, hack politicians. What's hard to understand? They're stuffing hundreds of millions of dollars in their pockets. So what's hard to understand? By the way, one thing before we go to a commercial break. Let's say thank you, Donald Trump. Do you think if anyone else had been elected president, you think if Jeb with an exclamation point had been elected president, that any of this would be coming out? Trump has shown a bright light on the media, on the government, and all the assorted scumbags out there trying to wreck us. So thank you, President Trump. Take a break and we'll be back.
Please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Biosuperfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement. VitalH.com. And now, get just one nutritional supplement instead of the Vital Superfood formula. Our whole food product is full of the most nutrient algae found on Earth. Vital Superfood for the brain. With focus, liver, if you can increase blood health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Vital Superfood and zero toxicity aimed at people you and fruitful and order your Vital Superfood formula at VitalH.com. Spelled VitalH.com. VitalH.com. Or call 877-288-9116. Vital. Putting power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be stable to any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom-tailored capabilities is not emergency lighting all the way to commercial scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design systems, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-229-9963. That's 303-239-9963. RedPlainsSolar.com. And the first became legend for among them, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. The people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish government, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
My friends, tell me something. Do you enjoy sitting and listening to a Jewish, politically conservative radio talk show host who yells his lungs out during the show? You do, right? That's how I know you're going to like Mark Levin, because he does exactly what I do, only not quite as well. Go ahead, Mark. Mark, how about the fact that Trump wanted to kill it and he couldn't get the Republicans to support him? He couldn't get it passed in the Senate. How about that? Stop railing against Trump. Trump is not the problem. Trump is making the best of a bad situation, and the bad situation is a fat cat, elitist, establishment Republican Party that he has partially destroyed but hasn't put out of our misery yet. We believe in Donald Trump would have hammered this thing into non-existence if he had the support of Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and their vermin in the Republican-controlled Congress. He didn't. He doesn't. The big government party, which has a Republican and a liberal and a Democrat, has Democrat and Republican wings, that big party, the establishment, the swamp, is fighting him. And so he's trying to get something done as opposed to nothing. Mark, baby, I love you, but come on. Trump is aces. He's trying to do everything he promised to do, and he's fulfilled many of his promises. But the government, the structure, the president can't do everything. He needs Congress and the Senate to come along with him, and they just plain won't. They're busy playing politics. They are political hacks and whores. And Trump is doing the best he can. I guarantee you, none of the other people, none of the other 16 people up on those debate stages with him would have done anywhere near what he's done, and he's less than a year in office. We'll take a break and we'll come back. More Real Truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tom Phillips, founder of the Green Earth. Well, it had to happen. Colorado legalized marijuana. Most people thought the Green Earth was a marijuana dispensary. Also, it was legalized on January the 1st, 2014. The same day we opened our new location at 4565 Gifford Street, 1.5 blocks south of I-7. There are 3,000 cars a day passing in front of the new location on Gifford Street, and most of them thought we were a marijuana dispensary. So we changed the name of our retail store to New Genesis Health, but we kept the name of our Green Herb Supplements. So when you come to our new location, look for our new name, New Genesis Health, or call us at 888-765-HERB. That's 888-765-4372. And be sure to listen to the Healthy Lecture Show with Philip every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Now, this is the testimony of John, the Jews sent recent Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 19 through 21. No one anywhere is more noble, righteous, justice, or courageous than our United States Armed Forces. These brave men and women in their film put the bill for our freedom every day. Send them over to the let them know that they are in our hearts and our prayers and our thoughts. This is your sisters. That's your 24-hour Walmart Super Center on Highway 387 in Lafayette. They're on the air because they care.
All right, folks, welcome back to Real Truth. Howard Real, this is your opportunity. You can switch to CNN or MSNBC if you want to be lied to, if you want to be demeaned and insulted by a news organization. If you're going to listen to me, you're going to listen to the truth. To wit, Tucker Carlson from Fox News last night, another excellent source of truth. Go, Tucker.
This is a Fox News alert. President Trump has just finished speaking to the Heritage Foundation in Washington, where he promoted a Republican plan to reform America's tax code. Good evening. Welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. In just a minute, we'll talk about a meeting at the Weinstein Company in Los Angeles today. Harvey was part of that. Also, there's new information about the Las Vegas security guard who apparently vanished into thin air, one of the rare eyewitnesses from inside the hotel. We'll have the latest on that. But first, here's part of what the president just said about his tax plan.
Our framework provides a one-time low tax on profits currently sitting offshore so that this money can come back right where it started, come back home to America where it belongs. And believe me, we can use it in this country. We need it so badly for so many things, including infrastructure, which we'll also be doing. We will eliminate the penalty on bringing home, and we have to do that, future earnings. My Council of Economic Advisors estimates that this change, along with a lower business tax rate, would likely give the typical American household around a $4,000 pay raise. And that's money that'll be spent in our economy. Our tax plan will ensure that companies stay in America, grow in America, and hire in America.
Well, for reaction to the president's address and his tax plan, we're joined tonight by Fox chief political analyst Britt Hume. Britt, thanks for joining us. It seems like taxes may be the last issue that most Republicans in the Congress can agree on. They're all for tax cuts. That's part of what it is to be a Republican, I think. Is there any way that this doesn't pass?
Well, you've got a very narrow majority in the Senate. There are benefits in this tax code now that would have to be stricken to make room for the cuts, so you don't have a big blowout in terms of the budget. And so then they will be fiercely supported and defended by those affected. So they'll be, it won't be easy, not with a narrow majority of the kind that we have now among Republicans. Democrats, by and large, do not favor tax cuts, particularly tax cuts that they will inevitably say benefit the rich. And it's not that easy a sell, Tucker, for this reason. For one thing, every time you pass tax cuts, and you heard the president tonight say, they're going to increase the number of people in the zero bracket. You have fewer and fewer people actually paying taxes. Right. That is to say, fewer and people who stand to gain when taxes are cut, because it is simply a mathematical truism that when you cut taxes, the people who benefit are the people who pay taxes. And as that population shrinks, the constituency for tax cuts shrinks with it. So this is not such an easy deal. I would say, however, that there's momentum provided by a certain Republican desperation to get something big done because they failed so spectacularly on Obamacare repeal. And this is the other big ticket legislative item. And I think there's a widespread feeling in the Republican caucus in both houses that they need to get this done.
So the debate among Republicans, I think, outside of the Congress is, does this make good on the president's promises to his core constituency, the American middle class, during the campaign? Will this, from what you can tell so far, benefit that group, middle-class Americans?
Well, there are two ways to look at tax cut benefits, Tucker. There's the indirect kind of benefit where you pay a certain amount of taxes this year, and because the new law comes along, your taxes will be reduced by X amount. That's one way you benefit. The principal purpose of a large tax cut of this kind, especially where you're also cutting the corporate rate, is not just to put money in the pockets of consumers to spend it. It is to encourage investment and growth in the economy, which benefits everybody. And I think it's fair to say, Tucker, that the principal benefits, the major benefits, the most important benefit in economic terms of a big tax cut is to stimulate the economy, so people benefit indirectly. That is to say, jobs are created. There's competition for hiring. Wages go up. And there really is a possibility of a rising tide that does lift all boats. But when you're selling a tax cut, as you could tell by what the president was saying tonight, you often have to focus on the narrower question of how much does this constituent or that constituent get in savings.
Do you think that ordinary Republicans still believe that a rising tide lifts all boats? Because certain boats have...
You mean ordinary Republican voters?
Yes, ordinary Republican voters who voted for Trump, who was a departure in what he said on the campaign from the classic Republican orthodoxy on economics. You got the sense that there were a lot of crossover voters who had supported Bernie Sanders and voted for Trump. I wonder if the view among ordinary Republicans is different from the view from Washington on this.
Look, I think that by and large, broadly speaking, tax cuts tend to be popular. Yeah. Even Democratic voters would like to have their taxes cut. Everybody wants their taxes cut. When you consider the growth of the federal income tax over the years, most people think they pay too much. Although, as I pointed out earlier, Tucker, there are a lot of people who are paying very little in federal income taxes. They pay Social Security taxes, they pay state and local taxes, and so on. So everybody has taxes that they would like to see cut. So I think the constituency for it is still there. The constituency for the kind of tax cuts that the president is selling, where you're reducing the rates, where you can point to people and say, look at this guy. He's got all this, he's going to get millions in benefits. Well, that's because he pays so much. But we live in a country, after all, where 10% of the population, the richer 10%, pay about 70% of the taxes. It figures that when taxes are cut, they're going to benefit the most because they pay the most. That is not a particularly good selling point to an ordinary taxpayer.
No, but that is math. Britt Hume, thank you.
That's because I would say the ordinary taxpayer isn't thinking very much. 70% of our taxes are paid by 10% of our population. So when taxes are cut, that 10% is going to save some money. Why is that bad? Half the United States pays no federal income tax. When do we begin to gripe about them? Some people can't. Some people don't want to. Some people don't want to work. When do we gripe about them? Stop yelling about tax breaks for the rich. It's the rich who are paying 70% of our taxes. It's just plain math, and if you don't know how to do math, it may explain why you're not doing well in life. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll wrap it up here on Riell Truth.
Want to buy more nutritional supplements? Please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutritive algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain, with focus, memory, leverage, and food. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body, it's a no-brainer. Bio Superfood and no toxic and it's for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com. Spell BioAge.com. BioAge.com. Or call 877-288-9116. BioAge. And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16. The link with locker plan reminds us that the drug problem is well documented. We know our kids will be approaching to apply in our community who have had the strength to say no to drugs. They provide examples that it appears and families to be the best it can be. That's promoted with the locker plant located at 366 Grand Street in Newman, serving our area 1943 and specializing in natural life, HP, and fourth and complete custom process. All 336 to 82240 to 336 to 82240.
Item from the Daily Mail. They were previously allowed to use mere driving licenses, but residents of some U.S. states will soon require additional ID, such as passports, if they wish to embark on air travel, even if it's just domestically. That's the new procedure on the horizon for people from states that have not yet introduced the standards required by the 2005 Real ID Act, which demands stricter regulations from state-issued IDs. The states that haven't fallen into line each now have a grace period of 3 months to meet the revised criteria, unquote. So, my friends, we are increasingly being put upon to identify ourselves when actually it's none of the government's damn business. Item from SportsIllustrated.com. LeBron James wore shoes that say equality for the Cavaliers season opener against the Celtics. James has been an outspoken critic of President Donald Trump and spoke at length about his social activism at the Cavs Media Day, unquote. My friends, when it comes to intellectualism, LeBron James is really good at slamming a ball through a hoop. Item from The Hollywood Reporter. In a statement to The Hollywood Reporter, Jeff Katzenberg, the big-time producer in Hollywood, said, quote, Molly Ringwald had to read those words attributed to me and believe I said them is horrifying, mortifying, and embarrassing to me, unquote. In an essay for The New Yorker, Molly Ringwald reflected on her own experiences with sexual harassment in Hollywood, including an explicit comment once made by Jeffrey Katzenberg. The head of a major studio, and incidentally someone who claims himself to be horrified by the Harvey allegations, was quoted as saying, quote, I wouldn't know Molly Ringwald if she sat on my face, unquote, she said, of a Movie Line article in the 1990s. which included a reported quote from Katzenberg at the end of a paragraph about the song Molly by alternative rock group Sponge. Maybe he was misquoted. If he ever sent a note of apology, it must have gotten lost in the mail, unquote. I don't know what to tell you, my friends. Hollywood is a cesspool. Better we don't take political advice from the people who swim around in it. Item from CBS Dateline, Walpole, Massachusetts. The decorations are out, and Halloween is 2 weeks away. But there's a controversy at Boyden Elementary School in Walpole. The school will not be having its annual Halloween costume parade this year. I think it's a lot of political correctness, a Walpole woman said. I think it's a shame because Halloween is the funnest day of the year next to Christmas for children. In a message to parents, the school principal says, quote, the costume parade is out of our ordinary routine and can be difficult for many students. Also, the parade is not inclusive of all the students, and it's our goal each and every day to ensure all students' individual differences are respected, unquote. On Friday, the school will have a Halloween party after school hours, but the school says Halloween itself will be called Black and Orange Spirit Day, unquote. My friends, those who can, do. Those who can't, teach. Those who can't teach go into school administration, where they are as stupid and as inept as everybody has always known they are, and the craven cowards who bend to PC in unbelievable ways. Now Halloween is being cut out of American life. My friends, it is a poison. It is a cancer. I'm talking about PC, political correctness. It is rotting the bones of our society. The only way to prevent it is to get in its face, stare it down, push it back, and say, no! No, we won't cave to the PC culture. I'll be back tomorrow with more Real Truth. Hasta luego.